Doctor, what do I do with my legs so shaky?
Nothing, sir. It's your determination that died my trust. Let instinct stay in my head. Don't say a prayer until I know the stage. Let instinct the red velvet of life drops off this bed.
Alright, begin quest. If I make it back in one piece, I win! Whoa, numbers do not lie. Feels like I'm smurfing here. Doctor, what do I do with my legs so shaky? If I make it back in one piece.
Who's disturbing the currents?
Do we have time to go over combat techniques again? Take it easy. Haste makes space. Time to teach these rascals a lesson. Now, if I'm dead anyway. I'm taking you with me! Go on, say something. It would be sad if you sank into the depths without a sound. I've been in plenty of events, but this is the most chaotic venue ever! Ella, don't you go leaving my sight. I try and keep my eyes open! Do we have lightning? Wait! The sword! Whatever! Take it! Yep. Electric charge!
Let us read those naive delusions and immature obsessions.
If I make it back in one piece, I win!
As you ask, they have no power to withstand. They have no position to evade. They have no position to evade. They have no way to advance. They have no power to withstand. They have no way to advance. They have no power to withstand.
Our fleet is in position. I'll guide us to our designated spot. Please gather behind my shield. Toxic fins requesting more firepower. I'll do it myself.
I try and keep my eyes open!
toxic fins. Requesting more firepower.
If I'm dead anyway, I'm taking you with me!
Let's make this quick. My time is valuable.
Doctor! There's enemies!
No tardará mucho.
I try and keep my eyes open!
Entendido. Stand still. It'll spare all of us the effort.
I've been plenty of events.
This is the Destreza of Iberia.
Mission accomplished.
Doctor, what do I do if my legs are shaking? Lost the key. Drag it in! Wait! That's not the sword! Whatever! Take it!
The depths will devour your bones. I hear that your wounds will be rather striking.
If I'm dead anyway, I'm taking you with me!
I hear them. Your wounds will be rather striking. I will have your useless tricks will only make your death more miserable. I will handle it. Your wounds will be rather striking. I hear that this execution is not worth witnessing. I will handle it. I will handle it. Who takes joy in the fall? This execution is not worth this. I will handle. Who takes joy in the fall?
Mission accomplished.
Look, I know this was our hard-earned collective victory and everything. But, Doctor, did I take out any enemies by myself? Just show me which ones.